no, I got
now.
lots of time.
I will
I got
say,
lots of time. I just got to the airport. Sorry.
You're in an airport.
yeah, I will say, when I looked at the actual AmpGuard BoD, they somehow did their meeting in like an hour and 10 minutes, and I have no idea how.
I also don't, because I was supposed to be a part of that and I was not informed.
We do a lot of extraneous talking. Like this conversation right here.
It's because we like
multitasking.
talking about AmpGuard. That's why we do
we're
this,
friends,
because
not
we
just
like
business.
AmpGuard. Yeah. AmpGuard is for friendship. And then hitting our
I don't
friends
know,
with
does the
sticks
AmpGuard BoD get paid?
in friendship. And snacks. But you gotta bring your own snacks.
Well, that's what I think that the iBoD.
I only have one H in my name, by the way.
I just
We get
really...
color credit.
What?
I was trying to maximize my Scrabble score. It's okay. Did I miss anybody? We have James Anderson, Ben Smith, Athena Valesco, Scorch Garcia, Andrew Brown, Cameron, who I do not have your last name.
Cleveland. Like the city in Ohio.
There's an E after the V.
Is there an extra E there?
And then James has an S.
Does.
It's
Jam,
Jame
okay.
now. Singular. No,
Dagger, I
plural.
have no idea what your last name is, so I'm just gonna write Frankie.
It's Frank. M. I just put M. There you go.
Rose Brown and Chris Sapulu. Perfect. With attendance, I believe we can start this meeting. Does anybody have any problems with that? So,
Nah, bro.
go somewhere else. Perfect. We will start off with the reading of the minutes from the last meeting. Does anybody have an issue with that?
Not at all.
Perfect. We're going to go. The January agenda. Hopefully you can all see this here. We had everybody available. And we determined positions. So with Milan as president, vice president is Ethan Coppage, secretary is Chris Sapulu, treasurer Andy Brown, liaison Ben Smith, a scribe is Athena, the alternate is our Athena, monarch is Scorch, our PM is James, and our peanut gallery was Dagger. We tried to activate Skyfire Bay and the Oric to get Hawaii role updated. I believe that this actually got done.
I fixed it.
Perfect. We talked about storage, and I took an action to go look more into what we can potentially do with storage, and I have a report on that later in this meeting.
Bless. 10 out of 10. Continue.
Yep. We need to verify the contracts. Okay. The income we earn for events may qualifies for the cost of a storage unit. Okie dokie. Out. There's an event. I think, almost all went to it. So I think we're done there. We scratched pods. Digital PO box was updated. The mailing address for the POD box. Oh, West March budget update for February. I believe, Milan, you have some of that available. I haven't seen the actual final one.
It was shared on Discord and in the Facebook chat. It needs to go through an all thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
I'm trying to quickly scroll back and see if I see the payment request for. Okay, I'll have to look at that in a second. Athena is locked out of all discords. Hopefully you may or may not have gotten that corrected. Okay, we'll deal with that at some point. We did get updated roles on the Westmark Discord for the BoD, so that way the BoD can actually have access to the BoD channel in the Discord. We then talked about the official animal names of the various members. No wonder our meetings take more than an hour. And then we looked...
Andy named Panda?
Nobody should have. Continue.
We then did the financial forecast for 2024, which we'll talk about in this meeting. We then also started looking into a 501c3, and I have an update on that as well, and what that will take. Okay. And then the West March PM will be fleeing the country at the end of next month, and Milan's fleeing the country like now. Okay. And then we scheduled the next meeting, which is happening right now. Does that cover our meeting minutes for last month?
Yes.
Perfect.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Seconded.
Okay.
Milan, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to make off with the funds and then flee the country, not the other way around.
Okay. I'm going
I
to give 1
am
second.
the Prime Minister of SG, and their coffers are packed. How do you think I'm paying for this vacation?
Damn, we're being recorded, my guy. Do not joke about fraud and embezzlement.
I didn't know we were Rivermore.
Damn. I was gonna say Tal'Dagor, but you know.
No, Rivermore was the one that allowed bribery of the BoD within their.
Let's
I
see.
am not at all finding the budget
Scroll.
you posted.
Scroll. It should be in there.
It's in the Facebook chat for sure.
Okay, let me go pull that up real fast. Maybe that's what
Say
happened.
if it was
Is it the one that you sent
Milan,
me
he's
and
really good at
Thistledown?
putting everything.
I sent it to you and Thistledown to go over it together to tell me what I should change, which you guys gave some great feedback. And then I posted the finality of it in the Facebook chat, I believe.
I'm seeing a partial version posted, like a screenshot of an Excel table. Is that what you're talking about?
All I'm
No, the
seeing is-
entire form is there. I will be parking in 15 minutes, maybe less. So I'll pull it up and share it again.
Okay.
I
Is
moved to table this until Milan has the ability to pull it up.
Is it an Ampliki link?
Second.
Okay, perfect. Sounds like we are moving to table this. I will move it down in our agenda
Okay,
It's an Excel.
got it.
further down. Okay. So we can start with a 501c3 update. Okay. I handled this. I went and actually called the IRS, and this is what we have to do here. It was a fun conversation. They asked me a bunch of questions I didn't know about our organization, like who filed their last tax return. It was super fun. But really, what it comes down to was, in order for us to do this, we have to file a Form 8940, which is a request for miscellaneous determination, and we file it alongside a Form A 990. We don't need all of the 990, just the Form A. And then on the form, we best describe the reason for our change. We have multiple ways to handle this as well. We can either submit it through the pay.gov link, we can fax it to them, or mail it to them. Here's the fax and mailing information. All of this was posted in the Discord as well. The filing fee will be $550, and the processing time can take up to 180 days, especially with tax season going on right now. So we can go ahead and start doing this, or we can table this, or thoughts in general.
So
The first thing that needs to be said is that the work that Ethan did on this was mind-blowingly amazing. I thought this was going to take forever and a day, and he moved through it. Everybody should applaud.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It was a fun, like, hour-long phone call with an IRS person.
fun is that's a word you used. Okay. So we had mentioned the use of a law firm thing that just did these filings. I think Milan's the one that mentioned them. How much does
I
it
have
cost?
feedback on that. I had feedback on that. I contacted my contact at Volvo, and they said that is not a thing that can be done. And so I showed them that it can be done, and they said that's not a thing we can do. And so I asked them if they could help me dissolve a 501c7 and then create a brand new 501c3 and then have the 501c7 transfer everything to the 501c3 as a charitable donation. And they said, we would never help you with that. And I did share this information with Talon and Sebastian.
Yep.
I'm glorifying the conversation a little bit, but the basic gist is they said, no, we would never help you. It was frustrating.
That's weird.
Which caused Sebastian to do what he did, which was life-saving.
Roger. Okay, so we have to do it this way. There is no other way if we want to switch. Is that what I'm hearing? Like, is that correct?
There is, like, we could potentially follow that option Milan was pointing out, but it sounds like we would be on our own, or we'd have to go find, like, a different tax agency to do that for us, but it sounded like it was not a service Nolo offered for us.
Yeah, I'd
Not
rather
only did-
not.
Not only is Ethan's way easier than my convoluted way, but it's also incredibly affordable.
For sure. 10 out of 10. Would agree. Okay. So here's where I'm sticking with all of that. We should have been a 501c3 from go. And I have had conversations with people that were around at that point that bitch and moan about the people that fucked over the kingdom for that. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, we have not gone through an all thing to get the approval of the kingdom to actually switch. We were just like, hey, we're putting out feelers. How do you feel about this? But it was overwhelmingly positive. Now, where I'm sitting is, where does the ethics lie in just going ahead or waiting for an all thing?
Now there is a dollar tag attached to it.
Is the dollar tag within a combined 10% of both the PM and the monarch?
Heck, it's within the 10% of one of you.
That is that is my point. Yes.
I put it on the budget to be approved as one of the line items for this year.
Okay.
That's something we call an earmark.
Roger. So I'm sitting here feeling impatient and antsy. And like, am I just kind of needing to chill the fuck out and just let this go through an all thing? Or should we just go for it and I'm being anxious also?
It's probably a good thing. Good thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we know we have to have an all thing as part of the budget, and so we can just add in there like, you know, an additional line or something like that to be like, yes, we approve, or you know, yes, we understand that this budget includes this, something like that.
I mean, that's not this earmarking the funds in the budget is not the same as saying, yes, we,
They'll put it
the
in
people
the
of
same
West
whole
March
thing,
say,
a different proposal, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is we already have to go through this all thing, and so we can very easily just like add that as an additional line, right? That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, it's not going to delay us because we already have to wait for the budget approval is what I'm trying to say.
I hear you. Okay. Whoever is taking notes and or Thistledown, could we add that to the next all thing? Not
Yep.
just the budget, but
And as I look at it, I have a week to post the new ballot. We only have that one other issue that we talked about, Scorch. So I might put
sorry.
this in our
small, short, all
Chat
things.
there.
Love it.
Ethan, real quick, was that 550 just a one time to make it happen, or is that a yearly item?
They said it was a $550 filing fee to file this form 8940 and 990.
Okay.
I figured it was a filing fee. Yeah.
Yeah. They did not tell me if there was like a reoccurring cost.
I feel like that's a question Stephanie could answer if we were to float that. Like, hey.
Yeah, and I think we do have like a $20 some number like that, Milan, fee right now for the 501c7.
Gotcha.
Well, Milan has his own nonprofit. Milan, do you have to pay a yearly fee? Because he has a C3.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I know.
I just shared the West March budget with James and Scorch. Because I'm on mobile, if you guys could put that Excel file somewhere that's easy for everybody to find, that would be amazing.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I know if you go to Nolo Press, they will generate new articles of incorporation that meet all of that year's legal requirements every year. And I think it's either $50 or $100 a year. So it's a very minor fee for that. And that's only if we want to update our articles of incorporation.
I just pasted it into the Discord Board of Directors channel.
Okay, perfect.
Phenomenal.
And I can pull that up as well. Look at all those Excel tables. Okay, I will get back to that in a second. Okay. Are there any other questions on 501c3 updates?
I moved to close this item.
second.
Perfect. And we will close that and move along. If you don't mind, I think we should jump to budget now that we have it. Okay. So looking at our West March annual budget, lovingly put together by Milan. Let's see what we've got here. So total annual estimated for the kingdom spending cost, $10,000. Annual expected income, $11,000. Estimated budgetary income for 2024 is $1,300 and change. So, okay, so this is including web hosting for the CAM card, which is about $92 a year through our vendor. Google storage for the Westmarch Gmail account, $20. The payment to MCard International, our $500 obligation. Our $100 obligation to keep our virtual mailbox. The 501c3 filing fees, this is actually $550. Milan, do you want me to just change this here, or should we change this later?
Absolutely, yes, please change it. Obviously, I didn't know the cost when I put this together, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Call it 600 to already have any extra incidentals covered.
Sorry, what was that about incidentals?
Call it 600 on the 501c3 legal fees, just in case anything else pops up.
Gotcha. Pad it so in case we go over, we're not over budget, but if we come in under, it's fine.
Okay. Typically, I think we've handled small, minor, like $50, $100 things throughout of like the PM or the Monarchs budget, right? Like this is supposed to be a rough order, so like
to avoid that.
okay. We're estimating the Dark Shore event cost at 2,800. I'm going to guess, Milan, you pulled this out of previous year's cost.
That is correct.
And that's the Monterey County, and then the Feast of Gods event cost 5,100.
To the right, it says the cost estimate are based upon 2023 costs.
Gotcha, perfect. Thank you very much.
That feast event price is rather specific.
Yeah, it is out to a few decimal places. Yeah, we should probably just do whole dollar amounts. I'm just going to round that to 45 and make that easier on us. Just use whole dollar numbers here. Because I don't think we're going to be looking over every single penny on this budget. Okay, the spring mid-rain event, $200, and the fall mid-rain event, $200 as well. The coronation for fall, $400. The spring coronation scrolls is $100, and the fall coronation scrolls is $100. Oh, and because the spring coronation is also the Dark Shore event. I do think it's interesting that somehow Dark Shore and Feast of Gods. Sorry, what?
My apologies. The discretionary spending would come out of monarchy discretionary spending, so that wouldn't be budgetary spending. And the Feast of the Gods event had meals. Dark Shore did not.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not actually
Shore,
putting.
Dark Shore
continue.
usually has companies and households volunteer meals for the event, while Feast of Gods just pays out of pocket.
Gotcha. So what we're actually putting on the all thing here is really just these budgetary line items 7 through 13.
Yep.
Okay. Well, actually, I guess the Dark Shore event costs are probably not going to go into the February Alding either, because those would go under their individual once we know their cost.
By the way, I know that there was a question on how much have we spent on scrolls. Did you want to get that into the budget here, or?
That sounds good to me.
I saw it on the agenda. Last year we spent $605.12. The year before that we spent $371.31. This year we have already spent $560, and there are apparently invoices coming in for more.
Yep.
That makes sense, seeing as a good scroll is like at least bare minimum $50.
Yeah.
No, in the past we have also had scroll makers that were not charging.
Part of the steeper cost for that scroll itself alone was $200. The rest was paying him back for monarchs in the past not paying him.
Okay. So it sounds like the scroll budget should be closer to $200 to $300 per reign rather than 100 for discretionary budgetary estimates.
For estimate, sure.
Is my math,
Per-
quick math
per
there,
reign?
correct?
Yeah, around 300 per reign.
Yeah. So we were 300 and 300 for the spring and fall coronation scrolls, which really is just spring and fall scrolls, whether or not they happen at coronations. Okay. And then we also have our expected income in here, which is about $375 for our dues paid members, because we get about 75 members on average. And once you do all the math and calculate everything out, about $375. Darkshore pulls in about $3,000, and the Feast of Gods last year pulled in $8,000. Actually, hold on, over here it says 3,900 in income. Oh, because of what's available in the account versus what's available in the general account.
Sorry, what?
Looks like Milan is in the Blair Witch Project right now, and I'm guessing he's walking into his place. I was trying to figure out why there's the difference between in column B and column D, the difference in dollar costs. My guess is that because they're both being listed as the profits.
And
One's
is
3,000.
Yeah, because if that's total income, then that means that the cost
What
is
is
already
the
being taken care of.
what is the difference between the attendance rate of one event versus the other? Do we know that information?
I've looked it up in the past. Typically one event's slightly more popular than the other by like 10%. We're pulling in between like 160 and 200 people on average for our events right now. And so sometimes it's Darkshore will be the 160 and Feast of Gods will be the 200. And then every few years it kind of flips back the other way. Rough orders pulling off the top of my head from when I looked at this previously.
COVID probably affected some of the past couple of years.
Yeah, and 2020 and 2021 didn't help us with those number estimates.
And unfortunately, the pre-2019 data is bad.
Well, yeah, the way I did it is I pulled into the orc and just looked at who got credits at all of those events, because then you can just look at everybody who got a credit, and you can get the rough numbers. Yeah.
About 171 people that attended FOG this past year, and then
We also haven't apparently the org can make this way easier if we actually set up like big events and then just like add things as the event page, which is not something we do.
it looks
Mostly because it didn't
Something
exist
I did for the
several years
showcase,
ago.
and that Scorch started for the whatchamacallit, out.
I'm going to start one for out. I am in the process of it. I just haven't put in any information for
You've
it.
created the event.
Correct. I have not put in the credits yet because we have not found the clipboard and the mess of stuff.
Should be in the gate box.
Yeah, we just haven't dug through it yet. It's nobody's fault.
So if we whoopsies. We look here.
How many entries?
There's like 90 entries there for people actually logged in for the what is this? The 2023 War of Darkshore, which that's not right. Did I do something wrong here with my quick count of 83 rows? Huh. I know we had more than 83 people at Feast of Gods.
Yeah, we had 171. See, what I just do is Control F and then the word of. Darkshore.
So call it between 100 and 200 people.
Yeah, so there we go. At what's this one? Feast of Athena in 2023. We had 165 people.
So if we're trying to estimate incoming funds, ballpark it at 150 people.
These two events I'm seeing, the average is 170.
I believe roughly like if we get less than 160 people or so, the event's kind of small. This method isn't working.
And then not fog, sorry. Out had 140 something.
Yeah,
I believe is where it landed for us.
which is pretty good.
Considering it's year 2, hell yeah,
Yeah.
brother. Year 1 we had 106.
Yeah, I mean that's very good for an up and coming event.
There weren't as many NorCal people either, so as soon as we get NorCal committed to going, it's going to match numbers with Feast at Darkshore.
Yep.
There's
Yeah,
a
if we
bunch
can
of
just-
out of kingdom people from Las Vegas.
Yeah, that helped a
The
lot.
rain away.
Yeah, no, they we go back. SoCal and the Southwestern Desert Winds folk.
Got themselves a nice duchy.
They sure do.
Okay, so jumping back to the topic at hand, and looking at the annual budget here, it looks like, I don't have issue with the numbers that Milan has put in here for the the estimated income. Based on, using last year's numbers, I think that's kind of the best we're going to be able to do here for budgetary purposes. What's important is that the estimated budgetary outcome for 2024 is a net positive, not a net negative. Are there any other objects we are missing from the yearly budget? As far as big major expenses.
No.
Thank
Any
you for the
additional
feedback
discretionary
from
income?
James, by the way. Sorry for interrupting. Thank you for James for the feedback and helping me get all of the information for the budget.
Sure.
Any additional discretionary income expected from the monarchy?
I have commissioned a handful of titles,
Categories?
paragons, and a couple of masterhood scrolls. And I'm also commissioning hoods for those master hoods. So far, I think only one person for hoods has given me a price point. But after talking to Thistledown last night, I might be renegotiating who I'm getting my scrolls from. But right now it's just who and how much. But I have the concrete numbers on what it would be from who I have it from currently, but it is on the spendier side.
Cool.
If you want those direct numbers to go into the budget, I can do that, but
It's more just if there's anything other than the feast and scrolls that are listed on discretionary, if there's any other discretional items that should be listed.
other than the hoods, not that I can think of. But even then, the hoods might not even break 100 with how these garbers are talking.
Okay. And the idea is
I
just
motion
like
move on.
to help us. Well, okay, so I was gonna ask, does this give the king and the PM everything they need to put onto the Althing as far as our rough, the expenses we're expecting as far as the BoD, which to me really read as lines 7 through 11, our hosting fees, our Google storage fees, our MCAR international payment, postbox, and estimated legal fees for the 501c3. Is that, or do you need anything else from us for that Althing?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
So what is the actual item that we want on the alt thing regarding this budget?
Approve the budget? Question mark.
Please make it so that the web hosting and the PO box and whatnot don't have to come out of the discretionary spending.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's really these first 4 or 5 items is just vote on it as a one-time block, just saying,
Yep.
Here's
And
the budget
put in
for
a
the
stipulation. Put in a stipulation for year over year, so we don't have to get a budgetary approval every
Yep,
year.
Got it. Got it.
So if I just
It's a
throw in
yearly repeating thing. It should probably end up in the corpora then, so that there's a lasting record. How to phrase that? Nah, I'll leave that to somebody else.
Yeah, so if we say roughly, like, part of it is our fees are going to be a little bit higher for the 501c3 this year and like the incorporation stuff, but roughly we're looking at $1,000 to $1,500 a year just to like maintain West March and the current services it provides. Okay. Are there any other objects to discuss about this, or should we move along? Okay, can I get a second for moving along?
Second.
Perfect. Okay. The next object on our agenda here is scrolls discussing how much we're spending. We discussed this briefly, that we're spending around $300 per reign. And it sounds like that's getting us 5 to 6 scrolls.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I nominate that we don't give out awards anymore to save money.
14.
How dare
total.
you? Dagger will be pissed.
Scorch, you're blowing our
14.
entire budget on 14 of them this year.
Tell the Circle of Paragons to stop voting on people then.
Okay, you can award paragons without consulting them. It's just rude.
But that was my thing. I was like, hey, has the Circle approved anyone? And they're like, oh yeah, 9 people. And I'm like, fuck you, but okay, let's go.
Yeah, we had a big vote about a bunch of people.
And there's one scroll that I'm gonna have to do myself because Spade and I have a long running thing of like, we're gonna do each other's scrolls forever, baby. And I will not do 2D art for him because he already beat me. I'm not gonna try.
Luckily, I am in an entirely different medium from him, so I feel okay. Although now we are possibly working on a collaboration.
All right, so for the record, your scroll that you made me for a paragon and the scroll that he made me for a paragon are hanging right next to each other on the wall.
Yeah, and mine looks frumpy as shit next to his.
They
So
both look great for their own reasons, all right? So just settle down.
Look. Just let me have this, okay? That's it.
Anything else about scrolls?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 of them are going to be $50 each. And I'm having 5 of them are going to be 80 each. And I know 2 of them are being framed, and he is only charging the cost of the frame. And that's an extra.
That's $950 by my estimates. Anything else?
Those are all the scrolls, and I know people are like, oh, give this person this and this. And I'm like, I think someone's going to take me out and shoot me if I spend any more fucking money on scrolls. So no, that's the next Monarch's problem.
That's why we're going to put it on the all thing, because then it doesn't come out of your discretionary. It's the kingdom approving it instead of the king approving it.
I think that someone is going to be Scoot and I.
I think scrolls should be discretionary. We shouldn't put scrolls on budgetary. I don't think that's a good idea.
A one time.
Though this is going to be broken up over months, but it's still a lot. I do acknowledge that, and only 3 of them are set to be done by mid-reign, so I might be negotiating the other ones to have other crafters do them, but my concern is not really the BoD's concern, so we don't gotta get into it.
Yeah,
Truly, I'm not sure any of this is a BoD discussion.
Yeah. But basically what it comes down to is it sounds like this fits well within Monarch discretionary spending. Monarch discretionary can handle all of it. We don't need to add it to a budgetary. And it doesn't sound like we need to change the status quo.
Cool.
Are there any other objects on this? Cool. Moving to
Motion to
close
move
this
on.
discussion on scrolls.
Second.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Talking about dues paid and tithing update for April.
Tithing, did we get any?
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
What are we
Are
discussing
any of the
about it?
lands actually allowed to currently vote in the upcoming prime minister election?
Yeah, is anybody but Dragonvale allowed to vote on the West March Prime Minister? I'm curious.
We have not requested tithes and won't be for another few months. So
Okay.
Did
So
everybody
we'll-
get current last time? Thistledown?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Well,
Well,
caveat. Everyone who voted last time paid.
cool.
If there are lands who did not vote last time who would like to now, they would need to pay.
Do you have a list of which lands are not currently eligible? Or is that too political of a question for a BoD meeting?
I got that list. Just had to get a flash drive.
While we're talking about it, since I haven't been around when tithes get collected, how are they usually sent from the parks to the kingdom? Is there a preferred way to transact those?
Usually PayPal or cash directly to the well, if it's PayPal to the West March PayPal, if it's cash, then just take it to Thistledown at some event or whoever's a current PM.
I know you tried to at once at the event, but wasn't ready for it there.
I didn't give you any warning on that. I was just like, we're gonna see Thistledown. Why not take care of it?
Thistledown,
So in
contrary to
fall of
popular belief.
2023, I got nothing from Clockwork Spires. Nothing from Misty Vale. Nothing from Valand or Wavehaven. So those four would have to be brought in. There are also 2 new lands in West March who would have to be brought in as well.
I've heard there's been issues with Wavehaven that I've
Warhaven.
been keeping.
They
Mystic
just
Mountain
updated
and
their.
Skyfire.
Mystic Mountain and Borehaven is who I was thinking.
Yeah.
If Skyfire is back on the menu, then them as well. Yes.
I would refer to our lands as a menu, but okay.
Are Borehaven and Mystic Mountain able to vote?
They have to
Why
wait
not?
a year, don't they?
At least 6 months. So I mean, they
I
shouldn't
believe
pay
it's 6
tithing
months.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have to be members for 6 months to vote in West March.
Which will not be
Same.
in time for mid-rain, but for end-rain, maybe. I would have to look at the actual dates.
Yeah, have a
Which
signed
brings up
waiver on
a
record.
interesting question, because they still by the Kapora have to pay the tithe within a month of the PM taking office. They just won't become eligible to vote till after that, right?
Correct.
You can pay it after that trigger and still be okay. It's just you don't get to vote until you've paid it.
Okay, cool. I solved that one in the next version. That's what I was double checking. Okay.
Hooray! Fix the Kapora one what the fuck at a time.
As these things keep coming up, I keep double checking to make sure that it's actually fixed in the next one. Okay. And then possibly
So should we
Skyfire.
bother them again? I know that this has been on the BoD stuff previously of how to get lands to update records and pay tithes.
That would be a me and this.
I can start talking to the PMs about it and getting them ready to pay these funds. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I do have a different question. Yes, Athena?
As a Mistyville member, I'm very close with our PM. I can just go ahead and give them a heads up as well.
Okay.
I do have a different question that's a bit more BoD related to this, which is, at what point do we have to start looking at lands for violation of contract of not paying tithes?
This is the West March BoD. We don't talk about BoD stuff.
That was one of the things that we discussed regarding the fall tithes. We granted a general amnesty to lands who were out of date on their tithes and said start being accurate from here on. Because in the spring of last year, only 3 lands paid.
Yeah.
So yes,
So is this
the
like
decision of Queen Kaya and myself was to grant amnesty to the lands who were out of date.
so should we do
There
something?
is no real breach of contract for not paying tithes. The thing that happens if you don't pay tithes is you don't get to vote. Which is something that the kingdom has to enforce. Hey, you guys didn't pay. Why are you trying to vote? But there's nothing in the contract that says, hey, lands are required to vote.
It just says how you pay tithes and who they go to when dues are paid.
Yeah, because really our contract is just this. Operate as a nonprofit, sign and fill out this form. Operate as a nonprofit, abide by the current edition of the rulebook, abide by the corporal bylaws, which is everything in here. Abide by all laws, educate AMCARD membership and community through instruction. Yeah, so number 9, maintain records of attendance, membership roster, accurate financial records, ledger, and records of awards and honors, which they can do without paying tithes.
And we did call plans on it and did get all the lands to pass that.
Okay.
Except
But
maybe
there is
there.
this interesting one here, which is maybe a separate discussion about holding regularly scheduled AMCARD activities. Because last I looked in the org, I'm just gonna quickly sidetrack here. Sorry.
Is not in compliance, or
yeah.
Well, if you're saying Wave Haven, Toshan has put in a ton of stuff for Wave Haven.
Yeah. So this
Borehaven.
they are good.
I'm well aware of what's going on with Wave Haven. They're fine. It's Borehaven that I know is hit or miss.
Yeah, right.
Which
So
we
like
would
Wave
want
Haven
to
just
contact them and make sure that they're not just not entering the attendance. They might be taking it, which they'd still be like, you're not doing it right if you're doing that. But
well, as my role of the Kingdom Champion, putting on that hat for a quick second, I've been trying to contact their monarch for 2 months and haven't been able to get them to respond to me, which is part of also why I'm bringing up this discussion.
oof.
Should we do a more formal reach out? We and/or Kingdom Monarchy. Sorry, I'm wearing 2 hats right now.
I think it's really only possible to speak with Borehaven members at Kingdom events like Darkshore and Feast, because that's the only time they really exist.
I've managed to catch them before, or on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't, Monarchy I can't speak to, but Josiah, he responds on stuff all the time at places, but he's not a member of their monarchy.
So yes, I have conversed with Asmodeus Ironscale on Facebook.
I mean, if some of their member actually responds, maybe contact that person and say, hey, your monarchy needs to contact the Kingdom Monarchy.
Yeah, I will send him a message now saying to talk to Ethan.
Really helpful. Yeah, because I've been trying to contact their.
Did this BoD mention Mystic Mountain?
Was that Bear about Mystic Mountain?
Yeah, did this BoD mention Mystic Mountains on that list? I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
So Mystic Mountain is on the list for, let me pull back up my notes here. So lands that currently have not paid tithes, Mystic Mountains, because they were elected at coronation, officially approved into West March. They have not paid tithes.
They haven't been asked, but
they haven't been asked. So
okay, I'll check with the Monarch. I will see them a week from Saturday.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I'm good friends with their PM. I've known him for 20 years, so I'm sure if we needed to, we could get them.
Same here, good old Fallon.
Yeah, I've known him since I was like 9. So.
Oh wow! Okay, you knew more than me. You win. All right. Thank you.
Anything else about tithing? Do we need to bring up the dreaded word audits?
Well, so from what it sounds like, if I'm getting this correct from Monarchy, is nobody is yet at a problem state that the BoD has to address. If they want to issue them a warning or a 6 months, hey, whatever, they can do that, and then later they can come back to the BoD to talk about how to redress the issue. Is that a correct summary there, Monarchy?
Could you summary again? I apologize.
Oh, it's all good. So it sounds like right now there are no issues that Kingdom Monarchy needs the BoD to address as far as this, as in we don't need to pull the contract, and there's nobody getting close to that right now. If there are lands that are not meeting contract, Monarchy will issue some sort of warning or reach out to them and look into correction, but nothing that involves the BoD at this time.
Correct.
Cool. Okay. Is there anything else to talk about on this topic? Dues paid, tithing update for April.
Motion to move on.
Seconded.
As a local land note, I can confirm Misty Vale would be dues paid within the week. Just got that arranged. Yay.
Perfect. Look at that. Doing work. Okay. Order of the invoice to add to the Kapora as a ladder award. I feel like this is Milan trying to get an award for filling in a budget.
No. Moving
No,
on.
that's not what it is. Also, I moved to close this item permanently.
Okay.
With prejudice.
Second.
Okay. This item is
We already
closed
have
with
roses for that.
prejudice as soon as I know how to spell the prejudice. Okay. Google, save me, please.
Take pride in it.
Pre-Judd Ice.
There we go. Okay, close with prejudice, never to be brought up again. BoD membership added to the Discord. I believe this was actually corrected.
That is correct.
Does anybody
Okay.
not have access at this time?
I think Athena has access.
Anybody
just
who
to
doesn't
Discord
have
in general.
access to the Discord, anybody who doesn't have access to the Discord, let me know and I will fix it.
I have access.
Just write a note in the Discord.
It's still me on. I just don't have access to Discord at all, but I can make it an action item that just figure it out. I'll get on there by next meeting.
If you need me to sit with you on a Facebook video and I'll walk you through step by step, I will do that with you.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, cool. That's
The other
what
thing
we're
is that Discord is just a secondary location for us to communicate. It is not required, but a lot of us find it easier than Facebook.
It's easier to post documents and have them pinned in a way that you can easily find them again.
Yes.
Which
True
is
story.
vital for this kind of work.
Likewise with the next bullet. Oh no, this one was about changing.
Well, let's
the
close
admins
this
and
one
moderators.
first. So, anything else to talk about BoD membership added to Discord, or can we close this?
Close second. Moving on.
Scorch will use both abilities and close
second.
and second it right away, and we'll be done. Okay, leadership of the Discord channel in general.
What
I
is the
think-
question here?
I don't know.
So who is the admin and moderator, and should those change? Is I believe what the discussion was.
There are some people that have not been super active with AmpGuard in general that have like supreme mod status, and that feels a little weird. It also feels a little weird that people that are not in monarchy roles do not automatically have admin status like they do, say, on the Facebook page. It's like you give us access to all this really vital, sensitive information, but we can't create channels and make roles. Like, is that where the trust ends? That doesn't make sense to me. That's weird.
It would make sense for our IT committee to be in charge of the Discord.
Hard agree, but it's just a bunch of random people. Like it's a rogues gallery assortment of people that so far have been trustworthy and have made the good ship Westmarch go, and I appreciate that. But Azus should definitely have an admin power.
Oliver and Garfilius and I don't even know who else.
Garfilius should not have it.
Does not.
They are a part of
Okay.
a freehold.
Okay.
They were the one that started it, but their access is no longer on there.
Okay.
Well, I think it's actually technically Halabear started it, which I think is the one person we can never remove because they are the owner of that Discord.
Unless they pass on the admin power and delete themselves. That is correct.
Yeah. So
And I don't necessarily have
Yeah.
a problem with Halavar having that access. It's just the scope feels a little limited, and that's weird to me. So
On a somewhat related note, is there going to be open like requests for the IT group to expand at all?
I believe currently Azus has appointed a handful of people, but I somebody that knows the Kapora better than me, correct it. I believe that the monarchy has the ability to hire and fire whoever at will.
yeah, let me pull
I
up
was
the
mostly
exact
asking,
one.
are you guys gonna like open it up to applications, or are you just gonna like people you know?
I think
It's gonna be a
it's
voluntold.
I think it's a voluntold / handpicked thing as of this moment. But then again, I'm bad at memorizing the Kapora, So if somebody knows better information, please correct me.
Hopefully I'm
Well,
sharing
like
my
the
appropriate
Kapora
window here.
dictates who is selected. It doesn't necessarily dictate, you know, how you find the people that you consider.
Fair enough, but I do believe that the answer to that is Zeus appointed a handful of people, and right now they're still just trying to get their bearings. So I do not believe that they are casting a wider net at this point.
Yeah, technically the way it works is there's a committee chair appointed by the monarch. The monarch and prime minister automatically have seats upon the IT committee. Other monarchy can be as well if they so choose. Volunteers will be appointed and removed by the monarch, so they have full discretion over all volunteers, and how they go about that is left to the discretion of the monarch. So.
Okay, so if I wanted to, I could tell Jesus, this is how you're doing it.
Yep.
Go. Awesome. I don't necessarily feel like it's wise to do that at this point because they still don't have their feet under them yet. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
but
give
you
them
know
more
you could have a
time.
whole coding competition if you wanted or something like that to determine the best winner in a 8-round bracket or something like that. But I would, that's left to the discretion of the monarch.
That would be fun and funny to me. Like, hey, all of you, make the AMP wiki better with your programming skills. You have a week. Go.
Yeah. Okay.
I seem to
Can
recall
we
there
back
was an
account
event
all
like
of the
that at
modifications
some
then?
point.
Really? I love that for me. My community's awesome and fucking weird all at the same time.
I was gonna say, if it's an Ambuki competition, can my previous contributions count towards that?
That's not. Would that count as coding?
I know
I think
was
it's coding light. I think it's coding light.
I know that there has been at least one, maybe 2 drives for everyone to go update their amped wikis.
Yeah, there's definitely
all of the
something
meeting times are as accurate as the champions' visit times.
Yes. I appreciate you for doing that, Talon. I sent Talon the list of all of the lands and the times and locations they told me that they meet, and Talon was gracious enough to go in and actually update all of the lands wikis, so they are all now match that information.
But the orcs have not been updated accordingly for visitors to find.
Yeah, because you do not have that level of authority in the orc.
I do. The orc is an asshole. I've been
I
trying to
see
fix
2
this
people
one
on this
thing
meeting
for
that
like a
do.
week. The orc is an asshole.
It is. Yes.
Like,
Okay.
And to be
Seems
fair,
Finally
like
working again, though.
it is surprisingly difficult to update the meeting time on the orc.
you have to
Like,
delete
it's not-
it. Like, you have to
Yeah.
completely delete it and then do it, which
Yeah,
I
you can
think
only
is an
have-
asinine fucking.
Well, the thing is, you
Well,
can only
like,
have
I
one primary,
that,
and you can have as
and
many
it still didn't
alternates.
work.
But you
Yeah.
can't edit it,
Yes,
Sebastian. That's
correct.
why
No,
I-
agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
I
When
100%.
I
I had to
tried
go through this
to-
recently.
When I tried to update mine, it updated and made the new one, even though I deleted all the previous ones and alternate, and I have not been able to figure out how to fix that before I stop being PM.
Well, now that I'm thinking of it, I'm gonna fix my parks because I can.
Okay,
that is a
so-
monarchy issue.
Talking about leadership of the Discord update, it sounds like IT committee is going to handle it. Monarchy is going to coordinate with IT to handle it. Is there any other BoD actions here?
There were 0 to begin with, so I move to close this item.
Okay, moving to close the item. Can I get a second?
Second.
Perfect. Okay, let's talk about storage, which is the reason we're all here. Okay, so last month we talked about different prices in order to go rent a storage unit. I shared this spreadsheet in the Discord, and I'm also sharing it here. Let's quick summary. Last time I was told roughly the sizes of everything. So Regions boxes were done, everything's done in cubic feet. So we have 5 or 6 boxes, about 70 cubic feet. The Darkshore Castle is about 80 cubic feet. And all of the fog boxes is about another 80 or so cubic feet, which gives us a total of about 230 cubic feet. If you look at a 10 by 5 storage unit, it has to be about 1 foot tall, or sorry. Yeah, 5 foot tall, and you can cover it all. So if we get a 10 by 5 by 5, we'd fine. If we look on average for storage unit options, they come in 10 by 5, which are normally 6 foot 7 tall ceilings, or 10 by 10. Obviously, if you do a 10 by 5 by 5, you are like 93% full, so it's very hard to maneuver things around. So I looked mostly at 10 by 10 units. This allows people to actually get in there and move stuff around without having to pull everything out into the street and then put back the things they don't need. I looked at every place I could in and or around. Where am I going under the arc? In or around King City. I'm just going to quickly pull up the Amguard orc here real fast for their Amguard Atlas. So roughly looking here in King City, which is our lovely Borehaven, I looked at everything within a 1-hour drive, which takes us up into the Gilroy Salinas area and the Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo area. You can't get out far enough to Fresno. There's just no good way out there. So you kind of get into the Coalinga, Santanello region. So the main ones I primarily looked at were within Salinas, Gilroy, Hollister, Paso Robles, and San Luis Obispo. These are all 45 minutes or an hour away from King City. King City itself does have 2 storage units. They have no real website presence. And looking into them, they looked like they were going to be very difficult to deal with in so much that like you had to pay in person or mail them a physical check every month or something like that.
Gross.
Yes. So I just excluded them from my search primarily because they were going to be difficult. So what that leaves us with is this pile of information. I have this sorted with the name and location. So this is like El Paso Self-Storage, which is located in Paso Robles, which is just north of San Luis Obispo. And then we have places out in like Hollister and things like that. Now, a few other quick things for everybody to just be aware of. San Luis Obispo, we obviously have 7 sleeping dragons. So if we need people to help, deal with management or whatever, we have a lot of very good people, including a couple of knights down there that we can rely on to help solve those issues. In the Monterey area, we have kind of Wayhaven up in the Santa Cruz area, so it's not that far away. Same thing with Gilroy and Hollister. So it's, it's about a 45 minutes to an hour drive for them. I also know that we have several members actually in Monterey right now, but, people move. The main benefit, obviously, is it's near King City, which means it's roughly equidistant for anybody. So if a Southern autocrat is elected from Sergeta, they get a terrible drive no matter what, but also if somebody gets elected from Thor's Refuge in Sacramento, they have a terrible drive. So everybody gets a terrible drive, therefore equal. Yay.
I'm okay with everybody having a terrible drive, but do continue.
Yeah. Yeah. The other option was we just choose like a place in the Bay Area because we have 5 parks there and we know that there'll always be somebody available.
No.
But it also means that the autocrat has less physical access, potentially, depending on what land they are.
I just looked, the closest public storage to me would be over 250 for a 10x10 anyways, so.
Yeah, so I went through some of these you'll see it listed in here twice because they have an introductory rate, which I tried to call out as a promo price. So they give, the first year is half price or for 6 months or something like that. A bunch of them also had stuff like buy a year, get a month or 2 free. But then they didn't talk about what happens next year. So I tried my best to just bring out like, here's the price as best as I can, assuming that we're here for more than a year or 2. The prices roughly are in the as low as 1,000, but it was difficult to get down that low. So reasonably, I'd say no less than about $1,500 to roughly the $2,500 range. There are some that are more expensive than that, but roughly we're looking in the $1,500 to $2,500 range per year, and this would cover Feast of Gods and Darkshore, so they could split that, or the cost would be divided between the 2 of them. So we're looking at about $700 or so per event, 700 to 1,000, roughly.
It's right now from the money that those 2 events have brought in. Would they be able to fairly split the cost of it right now?
I believe that is a
Feast can definitely cover it. It's half. Darkshore isn't as profitable, but
But is Darkshore taking up as much space as the FOM gear? That's not a question I can necessarily.
Roughly, yes.
The castle probably takes up about as much space as all the boxes for FOM.
Got it.
Yeah, so they're, but what Darkshore's a little bit smaller. As I said, estimated about 78 cubic feet, whereas Feast of Gods is about 84 cubic feet. Some of the stuff is jointly shared, like kitchen cooking supplies.
That's a wash, but
yeah,
it's essentially even at that point.
Yeah.
So I want to follow up on, if I may, on the communication with the King City location problems.
Mm-hmm.
So
with the park or with the
storage, it seems as though that one was being ruled out as a location for potential storage, if I understood correctly. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And it was being ruled out simply because it appeared that we were going to have issues with management, not only for setup, but potential communications and things like that. Now, I will say for setup, that's a huge pain. But when it comes to year over year, if it's a matter of just going to the place, it is open, we grab the items, I'm wondering if that makes up for the onset difficulties given the location being so premium.
So one point I'd like to make on that is we don't actually only use this for Dark Shore and Feast of Gods. Like the Regent box stuff sometimes does get used for like mid-reign and coronation. So it's not like for mid-reign and coronation, which are not held in King City, driving all the way to King City would be a little bit egregious. But
Fair.
further than that, like anybody who's gonna go to King City to get this stuff and then take it to site, they're gonna be passing through another spot already. So I don't know that having the stuff closer is gonna be significantly more helpful. And when I looked last year, those sites that are in King City are like questionable, not questionable, but like
Yes.
they're difficult to work with. I just echoing what Ethan already said.
I was understanding what Sebastian was saying also was that we aren't able to just here's the money up front or anything. They want us to go once a month and physically hand them a check or physically hand them cash. And that sounds like a motherfucking nightmare, and I'm not going to put that on anybody.
Yeah, there were several of them where it was very difficult. There was one that did offer an online pay, but the rest of the website wasn't amazing to like get me all the information I was looking for. They might be a viable option, but echoing what Andy was saying, which was, yeah, if you're already driving to the site, you know, you're kind of already passing through some other location. Now, obviously, if you're coming from a southern land, passing through Paso Robles is your preferred option. If you're coming from a northern land, passing through Gilroy or Hollister is your preferred option. The answer is we just don't know who's going to be the autocrat, so that's kind of the reason to choose around King City, because if you're already driving 5 hours, an extra 45 minutes isn't the worst to go up to Hollister and grab the stuff and come back. But if we put it at like Berkeley, California, so you know Wyvern Spur could be on top of it. Like now you're actually asking for an extra 2-hour drive for somebody from LA or San Diego, which is prohibitive. And as far as the Regent stuff, my guess, the way this is actually going to shake out, is the Regent will just grab it and keep it.
Storing it at somewhere like Wyvern Spur, at that point, it becomes more worth it to fly and then rent a U-Haul.
Potentially. I mean, it depends if like how much other stuff you're bringing.
Or just have a friend in Wyvern Spur that will bring the stuff.
Correct. Which is what we do right now, right? We ask Azus every year to bring the castle.
It's true.
That was one option I considered, but didn't want to go down that multifaceted route, which was what if we rented multiple storage locations that were much smaller? You know, like we just rented a small 5x5 and threw the Regent stuff in there. And then as we changed regions, we could rent a different 5x5 somewhere else nearby the Regent, or if the Regent doesn't have space in their house. But
that would get us the promo price for each time.
Maybe, but it would be a lot of extra contracts and moving around. And a lot of the times they're like 1-year contracts, so you know, Regent's only 6 months.
What?
Well, you know, if we change the contract every Dark Shore or Feast of Mars, then we just take everything out, use it for the event, get a new storage unit, put it all back in.
So I see Rose thought of something that I was thinking of potentially pointing out, which is several of these are actually very similar in price, and they're like across the street from each other. We could do exactly that.
What has there been any further research in the concept of doing a trailer storage or a truck?
Well, I think the idea, the request here from last month was look at these prices so we know how much they are, so that we could do that final determination of, do we want to do this? Do we want to keep with what we're currently doing, or do we want it to go buy a trailer and just move it around?
I am a big fan of the trailer. The problem is we would have to be very strict on who can drive the trailer, because 99% of people who say they can drive a trailer can't.
Well, and the other issue is then where do we store the trailer?
And of
So-
course, it is a little bit more risky as nobody's going to drive away with the entire storage,
U-Haul storage
container.
building. Yeah.
Probably some of these, yeah. So just a couple of quick other notes on this, just so people can be informed. So I threw a bunch of locations on here, a bunch of different sizes. They're kind of self-explanatory. I
One
threw
more
the
thing.
monthly costs on here and did a quick summarization for the annual. A few other pieces of information I thought were useful was the accessibility hours. Most of them are open until at least 7 p.m. So what that means is there may not be somebody in the front office, but as long as you have, say, the gate code, you can get onto the facility. And if you have access to our lock and key, you could open up our storage unit and grab our stuff and then leave.
Well, that's what I was going to say is potentially not using a key, using some kind of code thing, because otherwise we have to get the key to the person too.
Yeah, but a key you can put in an envelope and mail. But either way, it's either a key or a dial type code, padlock, something like that, right? It could be a rotary dial, and we just say, like, here's the code for this year or whatever. So like that's very possible. Some of the earliest ones closed as early as 7 p.m., which shouldn't be a problem for most of our events. If you're driving back from, say, a dark shore and you get off site by 3 p.m., you should be able to get to our storage location pretty easily by 7. And unload. The other good thing was and unload, because the gate locks in both directions apparently at 7 for a lot of these places. So you can't even get back out. There was one that had very big warning of be out by 7 or you're locked in. So I don't know how you handle that.
Fuck.
Yeah. 10 p.m. makes it even easier. A lot of them were open to 9 or 10 p.m. as well. So the other thing I was looking at primarily was ones that we could have drive-up access to. So, aka they have outdoors, so that way you don't have to try and haul a castle through the storage facility. Mostly trying to think about that for the castle. So, like the El Paso self-storage is a 10 by 10 unit. It's roughly $1,700 a year, and it has drive-up access. And there is a website link here. The Gilroy self-storage. This is the promo price, and the non-promotional price, it goes up by about $90 after the promotion ends, which is still $2,000 a year, so achievable for us if we wanted to. There's another Gilroy self-storage. It's actually run by the same. A lot of these are franchises, so it's run by the same parent corporation with a different franchise location. And they listed themselves at 187. They were just kind of on a different road within Gilroy. Hollister had. Oh, I looked at 2 different sizes and 2 different prices. That's what this was. I looked at a 10 by 10 and a 10 by 14 because they were fairly reasonable, just depending upon final size. And the 10 by 10 is an indoor first floor access. So we would have to do some wheeling around, but it is on the first floor, so we don't have to worry about elevators or things like that. Or we pay a little bit more and we can get drive-up access. And the price here, so Hollister versus Gilroy, again, about $173, although the Hollister one's a little bit larger, it's 10 by 14 rather than a 10 by 10.
But the price is comparable.
But the price is comparable. And they're both drive-up access and all of that. Then there's this company called Premier Storage, which is their own, like mom and pop type thing. Their website, I just have to show this off. This is a 1990s webpage, as if I've ever seen one, with fun clickable features.
Oh God, I hate it.
Wow, frames.
Yeah, right. Like you could tell that this
That
was designed
looks-
by like a 4x3 monitor. Like this is amazing, right?
That looks so similar to a lot of the programs I use at work.
Yeah. But if we have a military member, we get a 10% discount somehow. But I figured I'd at least call them out because they do have a website and they do have a button that takes you to a payment page, so we can do all of that online. But somebody probably have to go out there and actually set that up. But they were out there, and they were very similar in price again, for the base price, but they actually had larger units. That's the main reason I called them out, is you can get a 10 by 15 or 10 by 20 for about the same price as a 10 by 14 from their competitor.
Make
But
sure and ask for a nonprofit discount when you're getting quotes.
Yeah, so far all of this quoting I've done through their web pages. But yes, especially once we get the 501c3 set up, we should definitely make that inquiry.
Also, is it a thing that we have to check that they accept corporate contracts?
I didn't look into that. A lot of them talked about how to do they could do business storage, for like business events, but I didn't inquire as to the details.
Okay, that takes care of that.
Yeah. Yeah, this company Extra Space has it's a franchise, and they have a lot of good information just kind of available on their websites. And I think it was somewhere on here, I'm not going to pull it up right now, about how to do whether or not they cared about whether or not it was a business. But yeah. Okay, so another option was out in Salinas, which is Monterey. Again, about the same-ish distance, a little bit closer than Gilroy. Monterey is way more expensive, but potentially closer for us. But yeah, our price jumps up to about $3,000 a year. The times are less accessible. The drive-up times, drive-up access. It says drive-up access first floor, so I don't exactly know how that works, but it was there. And then just as a
But think about it, a castle with an ocean view.
Yeah. Oh, hey! I didn't even notice you snuck in there, Ralph. I should add you to people who shut up.
I
Gordon
totally
actually
thought that
had
was an ad
something.
playing on my phone for a second and started looking for how to turn it off.
He actually had something that he wanted to bring up to the BoD, but once we're done with the storage question, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna butt it in at the end.
Yeah, perfect. So I also did look at two other options, which is U-Haul of Hayward and Pleasanton, just kind of going with that, what happens if we just store it in the Bay Area type question, and just kind of rely on the fact that we have a well-established 4 or 5 parks in the Bay Area who could help us out with this. So U-Haul Hayward, we can get a 7 by 23 by 6.8. This is actually a van body, which is an interesting option. You ever see those big box trucks rolling down the street full of refrigerators from Sears or wherever else? Yeah, it turns out when the truck dies, they take the back off and they put it down in a storage unit and call it a storage unit. So that's a van body. So if you ever think of those big box trucks, that's what this is. And it comes with a padlock and it's bolted to the ground so it doesn't drive away.
Hooray. My favorite thing about
that's why it
storage
has that
units.
weird size on it.
Not driving.
So, what we're looking at for those options, and U-Haul Pleasanton was also an option, which was interior first floor, street level with no climate control, is, again, a little bit more expensive. It puts us in around the 190 range. It's a little bit higher than the 173 range. But convenience of, we have 100 park members within an hour of this location at all times. So my conclusion on this is we could very easily pick a place in Gilroy or Hollister, or there was the one Paso Robles, and now I've done the sorting and I have lost where it was. There it is, or Paso Robles, and we could, even without the promotional prices, right, get in somewhere in the 150 to 170, 180 range, which is setting us in the $1,700 to $2,000 range per year. That looks like it could do our storage. That meets all of our requirements. That is the conclusion of my TED Talk.
Blessed. Next time on Yu-Gi-Oh, we should get pricing on what it would take to do the truck.
I thought we had that last time.
Did we have the numbers for that? Because I'm pretty sure last time we talked about the pod and then eliminated it from discussion.
Yeah, I remember the pods we eliminated. How did these numbers compare to the ones that we put on the budget?
That wouldn't fall under budgetary. It would fall under the events paying for the storage units. Somebody ate my cookie, son of a bitch. Sorry.
By the way, I have already heard back from Asmodeus Ironscale of Boardhaven.
Oh, perfect.
I will post what he said into the Zoom chat.
Follow.
Okay, so they're primarily meeting digitally right now, not in person. But they're also not recording credits. Okay, I'm going to leave that to a monarchy issue to handle for now. But if they need to, obviously they can elevate to BoD for contract.
I will bug them about credits.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so your question, Talon, was the cost of transportation vehicle instead.
Do we need to
trailer?
Oh, yeah, integrate that into the cost for the events.
I think either way, the cost gets really charged to the event. That's what this comes out of. Obviously, buying a trailer is probably a larger capital expense than a storage unit?
Okay, just because I saw event info on the budget.
The money that West March gets from the event, I believe, is what that was. Or
Yeah.
There is the estimated costs on them, 11 and 12-ish, or 12 and 13-ish. So I was just checking.
Roger.
I believe the last few years the events have made more than sufficient money to cover the, $1,000 event for storage or whatever else. There's also the other option of we continue kicking this can down the road because it hasn't been a problem yet. And we've had lovely members who have volunteered their locations to store things.
Speaking of which, I did reach out to Bacchus. Haven't gotten much response from him because he has been quite busy. But ask him, like, do we and how quickly do we need to get Kingdom stuff out of storage for you? When I get a response, I will update you.
Okay.
I talked to him. He was fine with it staying since Theron's still at the house. So.
Cool.
Okay.
Just because also if I'm assuming he's paying for that out of his own pocket if we wanted to change that situation.
If by out of his own pocket you mean it's in his garage taking up space, I guess.
Oh, it's in his storage unit taking up space.
Yeah, he has at least one storage unit. I think 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so that is the information. I am presenting it to the BoD. What actions do we wish to take here, or do any people have any questions or confusions?
I have no confusions, but I am curious if we did or did not ask the truck question, or if that was next time on Yu-Gi-Oh! We go over the truck question and compare it to what Sebastian put together here.
What's the truck question?
You mean getting a trailer to store stuff in, right? That's what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
We did look into a trailer last spring, and the majority consensus was that a storage unit was a better option. I was the minority individual interested in a trailer.
I mean, for the record, so was I, but it does. The only problem with the trailer is like,
Where do you put it?
a trailer would become like 3 years worth of storage unit payments would cover a trailer, but the question is, where do you put it? So if we had a person's house that it could be stored at, then that'd be easy, but then we're in the same issue that we have right now of, well, then we're just using some members' space, and that's really not fair to expect that of them forever.
An 8x14 trailer can be found for about $2,500 to $3,000. New, they're about $4,500.
Is that covered or open?
It's an enclosed box trailer with a lock.
Okay. I was looking at like $5,000, but I'm not even doing hard research. I was just doing a quick look.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like where to store it is the real problem.
Into where then we could store a trailer, and if that cost would be different.
In general, it's lower than these monthly storages, but to get that lower cost, sometimes you have to be in some out of the way places. That being said, some of these places that we've looked at for trailer or for storage places is also what I'd consider out of the way. So it may be more reasonable than that. Yeah.
But what I'm hearing is the big issue is even if we were to get a trailer, let's say we happen to have a free trailer, we're still going to have to either pay to store the trailer or ask someone to let us take up real estate of their property. So
the big benefit, however, is that, with a trailer, we don't have to unload out of a storage place into a vehicle, drive it to the event site, and then, yeah.
I hear
There's
you.
additional utility that comes with it.
I don't disagree with you.
Maybe we should put out feelers to see if there was somebody in the area that would be interested in having a trailer on their property. Like, I would happily store a trailer on my property for the park. I'm just the worst
fucking
possible
Ramona.
location.
Yeah.
I think part of
there-
the problem
where-
with doing that is Borehaven, which would be the best for that, is very uncommunicative from what we've heard.
I'm thinking like veterans who live in between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Like, there's a lot of quality people out there.
So Wave Haven and SSD.
We'll count Clockwork in there and Quixotic.
And I mean, the real truth is, it would be completely reasonable for the kingdom to get into a storage contract with that person. Like, we don't have to ask people to do it for free.
So should we put out feelers to who we could potentially store a trailer at, and also where we have a place where autocrats tend to come from, or do they pretty evenly come from NorCal and SoCal?
In terms
Varies
of head
wildly.
autocrat, I believe
Yeah.
well, I do not believe that there has been a SoCal autocrat for Westmarch since Evil Randy being really active in the area, and even then, that's a question mark.
Well,
for me.
I do want to point out though that we're constantly talking about the two main, Feast of Gods and Darkshore, but this also potentially includes the Regent stuff.
Often
Which
is the Regent rent
NorCal
from SoCal.
primarily uses.
From what I was hearing and understanding from people that have been storing the Regent boxes, is Regents almost never come to get them, and they're only ever used at Fog and Darkshore.
Gotcha.
That is from my understanding from a brief conversation. I very well could be wrong. However, I don't think it's worth it to drive all the way to insert location here to pick up a box of 20 spatulas and a couple of knives. You know?
I thought
I
they
can
might
tell
be
you from
being
when
used in
when I
Midway.
was regent, they stayed in my shed and never left it. When Allura was regent, she never used them. I don't think Binks ever used them, but she might
So-
have.
So should
Jimmy
we look
offered
into
to
a
take
place-
them. Jimmy offered to take them from Bacchus, but Bacchus said, "Why? They're just gonna end up back here anyway."
So they're
Yeah.
only used at the
So should we
events.
look into a place to store a trailer in the bay?
Well, I've got a different question, which is, and this is a question to Monarchy and not a BOD thing, which is, should we go through the Regent boxes and see if they're actually Regent stuff or are they event stuff, and we should move them out of the Regent box and into the event box?
There is no difference.
Okay.
I would say that mostly they are cooking supplies.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. So, okay, I will update the error I had in my brain. So it sounds like we have Darkshore stuff, Fog stuff, and then the general shared Regent stuff, which is for between the two events. Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds like our next course of action is we should make a general call out to our populace of people with potentially more slightly central parks, like Bay Area, San Luis Obispo, our Fresno Clovis Park, Quixotic Valley, and Tehachapi, places like that, and see if somebody has space they're willing to store a trailer.
Yes to that, but also I think there was like one or two of the storage locations you pulled up, Sebastian, that I feel like people liked more than the other ones, to have more serious inquiries into those while we are putting out feelers. I would love to be able to make a final determination on the most practical course of action next BOD meeting.
Okay.
My God, this is taken far too long.
Do we want to determine those now with our basic pair downs? Or should we leave this as homework and then people come back and say, here are my top 3 choices, and we resolve that at the next BOD meeting?
The Gilroy 10 by 10, and then the Hollister self-storage 10 by 14,
Yeah, so the Gilroy
Were
10
the
by 10
two-
is
were the two I
promotional
was
at
looking at.
85, and then later becomes 173 after promotional.
Mhm.
And the Hollister self-storage, 10 by 14, you were saying. That's the promo price, and then there's the final price.
But those were the two that I was looking at.
Okay. I guess I can take the action to call them.
Bless. 10 out of 10.
Volunteer to put out feelers about places to store a trailer.
I think we're taking that as a general, all the BoD members should talk to the lands and surrounding lands that they know to see who we can find. I have a couple of people in mind who I'm thinking of asking in the area.
Come up with a list to divide amongst ourselves over the BoD chat in the Discord.
Hey,
Thank you,
Dagger, are you
darling.
still here? You're looking for a new place, right? You want to find a place that can store a
Dagger
trailer?
has the new place. I think they were actively driving to it.
Dagger is currently standing in the new place.
Sounds
Ah.
very echoey. You've got about 200 square feet of space in there?
I think I have 900.
Oh, perfect. Well, we'll take up half of that.
Nice.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, so motion to
This is a LARP group, but they might want to join our fair, so that's why I'm here with
Yeah,
I was
Cameron.
gonna say, could we move on to the thing that
Yes.
Warwick wanted to
Yes,
talk
so
about?
just calling, is there any other actions or should we close this? I'm willing to
Close
close.
it for next
Perfect.
meeting.
Motion to close.
I can spell a trailer. Okay, now that concludes our pre-listed things. I believe we have a walk-on item, which is a Ren / LARP fair in San Luis Obispo.
Santa Maria, California, in fact.
Santa Maria. And this would be in October, September.
November.
Oh, the date is moved.
The date is moved.
Veterans Day weekend.
See.
In November, 9th and 10th, Saturday, Sunday.
Sounds good.
That is, yes, I believe that's typically the end of our elections for spring before we do coronation.
For this past year is when at least SoCal did our coordination. As a note, I had trouble getting people to come to an event because it was Veterans Day.
Okay,
but
so,
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so let's have our lovely guests, which I believe we have a Ralph Stone and a Jen Reed here to inform us
And
more
Cameron.
about this. Oh, and Cameron. Oh, well, Cameron disappeared. Nope, Cameron's.
Nope, I'm
changed
here.
You changed your profile picture and it confused me. You are now a dude in screaming face paint at me.
All right. Everyone give them your attention and hit
Yeah, I put a picture up of me and a character.
Okay, which one of you wants to take the lead and tell us what all this is?
So, my question is, what do you want to know? Do you want to know about
So
who
I'm
I am? What?
I'm so
and
sorry.
there's multiple things we can go into. Who I am, what I'm about, who I'm with, what we're doing, and all the breakdown from those things.
So I think the way we're going to take this here is Scourge Garcia is our monarch, and they can handle most of our logistical items. This meeting right here is a BoD meeting where we primarily handle contracts, insurance waivers, safety, things like that. So for the meeting, I believe we care more about legality and in contract, things like that. I will leave it to Scorch to handle logistical details and announcements and anything like that if we so choose to pursue that methodology. Is that correct, Scorch?
Here's the issue with the logistical aspect of it. Yes, as of right now in this moment, that is my purview. I am not going to be in charge come October. So
true.
The concern that Ralph and I were discussing at Out was, how do we make sure that this idea lives on and that there is some kind of support on it. I would love for him to give a TLDR to the people here as to what is being asked of the kingdom just in general. and then we can figure out from there. what
Perfect.
to do with
Sounds
it.
good to me.
Yeah.
Did that give you the direction you're looking for, Cameron?
So, you want to know what I want?
Well, I know what you really, really want.
Okay, so we're doing a fantasy fair. And we have, and Jen here is in charge of the performing arts department, which is going to be all of our in-character, in-costume people. So I wanted to offer your organization and people an opportunity to be in character and participate in a fantasy fair.
Is this something
That's
that
the short.
there
That's the
would be,
short of it.
understanding the short
Sorry
of
for
it,
making
is
you
that
sit through an
something that
hour
would
45 minutes to get to this.
I'm sorry. I heard
There-
45 minutes. I'm losing my hearing in one ear, so
It's all good. I think Talon was just saying we're sorry it took us so long to get to you and within our meeting.
it's okay. We run a nonprofit association. I'm the secretary and treasurer, so I do all the minutes and everything else. So Ethan, I completely understand what you do.
I'm the vice president. I just like typing.
Oh, okay.
But that is fair enough.
So in you offering the opportunity for our players to come and be a part of your fair, is that something that would involve like contracts with either the kingdom or individual players?
So they would be volunteers because we're a nonprofit.
Sure.
And I have the first rough draft done of our fair handbook. I'm probably going to have to divide it into 3 different handbooks because it's become so large. One for just the general fair orientation, one for the performing arts department, and one for concessions, because those are three different, completely different animals. If you've ever been to a Renaissance fair, you got 99% of what's going to happen. We're just including fantasy elements. And we're expanding the time period of technology from the Iron Age to Elizabethan Renaissance.
If I may, I have a follow-up question for you.
Yes.
So when you're asking about our involvement, are you looking for us to be there as vendors with the booth, talking about our group, or were you looking for a performance type situation? Because we've done both of those types of things across lands within this organization.
Yes.
So both.
I'm looking for vendors. I'm looking for anyone that wants to do performance, and I'm also looking for individuals that want to volunteer in our performing arts department and be in character. But like all Renaissance fairs, people that volunteer bring their own costumes and personas, and they typically go through guilds. Since this is our first time running, we have a performing arts department to kind of regulate everything and have a standard and or brand. And that's where Jen comes in.
I am going to ask one other question concerning kind of insurance. So we are a boffer sport, which does mean that we do have, weapon to body contact. Would that be something that would be allowed, or would this be a pure non-contact type situation? I'm not sure what your insurance setup is.
Okay, so we're getting insurance for general liability for everything else. I'm going to be talking to, I've already started to reach out to the BoD steel fighting organization in Santa Barbara, and they do all of the night fights at the Central Coast Renaissance Fair. Okay. So they will be there at the on-site arena for Coliseum style stuff if you haven't been to the Central Coast Fair. So I would have no problems if you wanted to have a section, and I've already kind of picked out a section because we've mapped out Pioneer Park in Santa Maria, where if you wanted to, it would be your representation of your organization. And do you have insurances for boffer fighting?
We typically buy them per event.
Okay, so you would provide so I'm going to have the overall umbrella of insurance for the entire event. If you wanted to do that for your section, that would be fine. I need to talk to the city if they're going to require that or not. I know the BoD steel fighters have to have their own insurance.
I see. does that insurance, so we did fair down here in Escondido, and we allowed guests to come and fight with us, and the insurance that the fair provided was sufficient to cover patrons participating in the buffer fighting.
We are getting offered insurance through the city at a very modest rate, and I have to go into, when I finally meet with the city, I can specifically ask that if it's covered. They've already had a meeting independent of us, because we were proposing doing this, having LARPing and inviting your group into Mimicon 2024. I don't know if you went to any, or aware of the game convention that was last year in Santa Maria in April at the youth center.
I'm in Riverside.
Well,
I'm in the Bay Area.
I believe Hero went to that. But...
Ralph lives in city with me. I've gamed with him tabletop, and he's a really good guy. I mean, I really respect the gentleman, and I proposed this to him when he was in charge, and he loved the idea of what it originally was for 2024 is they were going to give us an entire park. The entire community center for the park was like the entire basketball court bleachers and all of the meeting rooms surrounding it, and the entire park was going to be given to us for the entire day. The original plan was for them to A-OK, which they did, to have your group come in and set up surrounding the building. So if you wanted to have a crown event or some major organizational event, we were welcome to bring it on. The bigger, the more spectacular, the better. But we're doing a fantasy fair now, so it's slightly different. We're going to be doing most of the heavy lifting on all of that.
Sorry, I'm just realizing I actually don't have. Do you have a name for your event rather than just the Ren LARP event in Santa Maria?
The Fantasy Fair of Santa Maria.
Oh, it's just called Fantasy Fair.
The Fantasy Fair.
Phenomenal.
No one else has claimed this title.
I'm surprised.
If you're specific to of Santa Maria, then you're correct. There is a fantasy fair that takes place in Northern California as well.
There's not a lot of fantasy fairs. Tons of Ren fairs, tons of Viking fairs, tons of pirate festivals. Fantasy fairs, not so much.
True.
And they already in the Parks and Recs department of Santa Maria have already kind of had their internal meeting, and they're like, thumbs up, green light, semi-blank check for LARPing. So you're more than welcome. And they've already seen videos and the news entire thing that happened a few years ago for your group when you were getting interviewed in the park.
I believe it's the one that you're in, Ethan. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the one from our dark shore after COVID.
They watched that and did a lot of research, and the city Parks and Recs is thumbs up and approves.
Perfect.
A little side note, it was very funny. At first, they did not approve, but then I had to tell them that we were Amped Guard, not Belgarth.
This is true.
Oh, I can't tell some friends that information.
So okay,
Too many cross gamers that play both.
Yeah.
Well,
congratulations, your reputation precedes you.
Perfect.
Either that or they make you look good. Probably both.
Yes. They're still in their frat boy phase of a game. They're pretty young compared to our old crotchety.
Oh, don't get me started on frat boys. I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
well, it was fun when it was there, but it's seen better days.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what's happened to them. So as far as a BoD issue, I'm going to address it like by category. So as far as BoD, it sounds like at some point in like the August-September timeframe, we would have to look back to see whether or not we have to go buy event insurance for this, or if we just wanted to do a kind of no contact booth where we're just talk about what we want and we can dress up and do things like that, but not actually do actual Amp Guard fighting. But that sounds like an issue that we would solve a couple of months out once we understand the insurance situation better.
Oh no, from my perspective, I want you to hit people.
Yes, it's a question of whether or not the city will allow us to not sue us.
Because my personal experience with that level of boffer LARPing was with the old IFGS, International Fantasy Gaming Society, back in the early 90s. And then I kind of graduated to an SCA spinoff called Adrian Empire, which we did full steel medieval reenactment.
Yeah.
And I have been to Crown Wars with 200 people with 75 pounds of plate mail, 35-pound swords, and dowel rod tipped 20-pound bows firing arrows and clinking off of our helmets. So, yeah, you guys fighting, I'm all for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will root for you and do what I can.
So we as AmpGuard need to know whether or not the event insurance covers contact, whether AmpGuard needs its own specific insurance for the event itself.
Correct.
Also,
Like for example, and we have a couple of other people who run demos at like conventions, and I know that we have like special limitations put on sometimes where it's like
you go to Polycon.
We go to Polycon, we go to DunduraCon, we go to what's the other one we go to? James, you go to one in
Pacificon.
Pacificon, right?
Do you get your own insurance for that?
There's different restrictions depending upon the cons. I believe for DunduraCon, I don't know this year's. I know we did a couple of years ago. We were only allowed to have other people who were previous AmpGuard members engage in combat, but we could like demo and show off, but we couldn't like have people sign waivers that day and bring them in. Like there were, so that's why it's different places have different limitations. I'm just trying to understand what those limitations are.
I'm gonna want you to have people sign waivers and start smacking.
Yeah.
Generally, AmpGuard does not get our own insurance for working events because for us, it's not really a full event for us, and the insurance is kind of expensive. So adding on a lot of extra money when we don't get to do full on our stuff is problematic for us. So usually we work with different conventions or fairs and figure out how to work within whatever insurance they have.
Right. So more than likely, since the Parks and Recs department already met, they already discussed LARPing, they gave a thumbs up and then offered their insurance to us for the fair, probably leans towards it's going to be covered. But I just need to go confirm that, and I will get this information to you as soon as humanly possible. Because I'm as patient as George W. Bush. I want to have everything done yesterday.
Gotcha.
So the city might have already, within the insurance policy for the fair, have covered contact LARP between guests.
They already had meetings and they already approved all this. And I'm just going to leave it to a city to actually do bureaucracy because they love it.
Agreed. So
I just need to go confirm it.
Yeah.
So what do you need from us?
Well, do you want to participate? And how would you like to?
If this is something that we're trying to push as a West March wide thing, my brain immediately goes to it would be neat to have the Guild of West March of AmpGuard. But if we're looking for it to be a little more localized, and this is something that Seven Sleeping Dragons and other Central Californians do, then it would be up to them, and that's not something that I would try to meddle with, but I want to support them however I can. That's where I'm living right now.
So I run two hats, as I mentioned. I'm the VP, the Vice President of the Board of Directors. I'm also the Kingdom Champion, who's our Chief Safety Officer and helps organize like all of our games and things like that. And I'm the Kingdom Champion at least until May. Sorry, I had to do some quick. Yeah, so I'll be at least until May. Whether or not I maintain that title after that is a secondary question. Similar, because we do our reign changes every 6 months. Talking with previous Kingdom Champions, because I see Chris is in the chat, who was our previous Kingdom Champion, I think that any Kingdom Champion would be more than willing to help do something at this event, whether or not we coordinate that personally or we use Seven Sleeping Dragons and the excellent people we have there, who are our local park, to do that coordination. would be I think we'd have to figure out for us. As far as points of contact, Ralph, looking at you, are you wanting to be the point of contact in this, or are you looking for larger West March support in this endeavor?
My original plan, from talking with Cameron and Shay, who works for the city of Santa Maria, was they were so impressed by Once Upon a Time, because we had just done that event right before I had met these guys. And then they came out to our park and had a fun time actually hitting each other with sticks. That I would love to do something along those lines for this fair, since we're going to have a section of the fair dedicated to just Amtgard. Having a small section of active questing for guests to run through and do that. I don't think 7 Sleeping Dragons by themselves could actually pull something off like that without wider West March support.
Gotcha. So you want to run this closer to like a kingdom level event, like a little.
But we're
that would be amazing.
We could
probably. My goal is to have a 50-person performing arts department minimum.
But not all of that from Amtgard.
No, that would include Lompoc SCA and the Boohurt guys as well.
Okay.
We could maybe swing this into our Endrain Coronation.
That would be amazing.
And any fantasy cosplayer that wants to throw their hat in the ring.
Yeah.
Which we do with Cow Polly right next to us. Have quite a bit of fantasy cosplay going on.
Bear had some thoughts to share?
Yeah, I just thank you. I just didn't want to interrupt that because this is all useful information. I wanted to express to Champion / Vice President or King, this is a great opportunity because Desert Winds did this years ago. I think around 2014. It was called FantasyCon. It was a huge event. It not only involved Amtgard, but Belagarth, Dagger here, you name a LARP, they were there. This is a huge opportunity. I think we could do very well in this. And that's what I wanted to express is that this is something where if we ask a lot of people to help us out here in the kingdom, this would be it. This would be one of them. That's all I have to say after that. Thank you.
Yeah, I could not agree more. When Ralph first brought this to me, a lot of things came at me that weekend when he brought this up, and it stuck. Couldn't remember the details, but it stuck, and I do remember. There's still a lot of people that talk about that FantasyCon in Salt Lake City, and just legendary stories came from it, and a lot of people lament it being gone. So I am completely in favor of doing whatever we can to support this. I'm just still kind of I'm not quite sure how, unless I just put on an autocrat hat, but I can't do that right now.
So
that's understood. If there's any help with experience, I was at that event at FantasyCon assisting with our Amtgard members on the battlefield at the booth, and also I actually got caught by independent media. So you can find Bear at FantasyCon getting caught by the King of the North in that example.
Are you Lord Bear?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm looking at my notes. I just didn't get the real world name. Okay.
Also, having only been in Amtgard for 2 years, I haven't had a chance to run a large event. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't necessarily know what's required to do something of that caliber.
Feel free to grab me by the shoulder.
You're not coming through.
I was very coyly. Could you persuade a Deimos, mayhaps?
I was
but that's probably no.
I was going to call out Ralph. 2 years is very not real.
All you have to do is volunteer.
No. Ralph is Deimos's nephew.
Yeah.
I have hit people with swords since I was 7. Specifically, my 3 little brothers. I have not participated in Dark Shores and feasts all that time.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I completely understand the reticence on wanting to immediately tackle this giant Herculean task of autocrating not just an event, but this kind of event with a lot of moving parts, with a lot of mechanics you'd have to work out.
Well, for our organization's committee, I am the chairman of this committee. So I'm kind of leading the charge on this, and I'm trying to utilize as many people as humanly possible. My job is to make everyone that participates as easy, cheesy as humanly possible.
Yeah, so I am going to. Sorry, somebody's supposed to.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so I am going to say I'm going to put on my BoD hat for a quick second. Which is, so it sounds like what we need to do is look at event insurance, possibly. Cameron, you're going to give us more information about whether or not we're covered. I would also like to know whether or not we want to formalize some sort of. Is there going to be a formal contract in some way? Just because all of our contracts are required to be signed off by the board of directors. It's just for liability reasons. And then if we end up having to purchase our own insurance, we should talk about financial compensations. Like if it costs us $500 to get the insurance, would we get a percentage of profits up to that $500 to cover that fee later at a date, at a later date, something like that?
Would you like me to talk to the city to see if they can slide you the same insurance policy through us?
Well, if the Parks and Recreation has already approved boffer combat happening on site, we might already be covered. And if that is the case, then there's no need to look for insurance.
Correct.
Well, if you do, when I go find out, and if you're not covered, I will see if we can slide you guys that insurance policy. All of the quotes that I've been getting from the local insurances have been somewhere between $1,000 to $1,200 locally. The insurance that the city is sliding us is $150 a day.
Hell yeah, I'll take
Yeah,
that.
damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you and Shay can get us in contact with the city and get
wheels
us
and
a little
grease
bit of
them.
nepotism.
And if they're going to require you to have it, I would like to slide that price to you and that opportunity.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, because if the insurance covers BoHurt, then it'd almost certainly cover our activities.
Yep.
No, I think.
But does it cover BoHurt members
BoHurt's
participating
gonna
with
have to
other BoHurt
bring their own
members, or does that
insurance.
cover people coming up and hitting BoHurt members with swords?
And vice versa.
Right.
BoHurt is going to be completely separate and isolated from all of the guests and everyone else. And they're going to have to provide their own insurance because that's what they already do when they go to the Central Coast Ren Fair.
Trying to quickly see if we had the last few years' insurance costs in our bid packages from previous years.
I can tell you what Once Upon a Time pays roughly for insurance.
Yeah.
Last year, I believe it was 420. What was insurance this year for out? Yeah, it was around 400, 450 for a weekend, and that was Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah,
and that also covered alcohol. So we might be able to get in for a little less since we wouldn't have alcohol coverage.
Yeah, it looks like
we're going to have 1 to 4 ale vendors.
So we don't need to, but we're not like it was
Amguard's
different.
not hosting a bar here.
Yeah, no, because the insurance that we needed was we are not allowed to consume alcohol on site without that insurance. But it sounds like that they already have that covered on the fair.
Oh yeah,
end.
So
absolutely, it's going to be open to public, and alcohol would be served, and this insurance is going to be covering that.
Yeah, so it looks like the last few years of our Feast of Gods and Dark Shore bids that I was able to quickly grab, our insurance is between $350 and $500, depending upon just that year's logistics and the numbers we put in. I believe it's like a $1 million insurance policy, and it covers like 200 or 300 people. So if we get a lot of walk-ups, it might be larger than that or whatever. But roughly, that's what we would look at if we had to purchase insurance internally, is the $350 to $500 range. Obviously, subject to whenever we actually file.
Oh no, I don't want you to do that. I'll do what I can.
Agreed. So that's
we're
what I'm
saying. The worst case scenario. This is what we are looking at by things that we've done in the past.
Yeah,
and it's good to have that noted down.
So step one would be, I would love it if you, Cameron, could confirm with the city. Does their insurance cover
Monday, Tuesday next week, considering it's Friday?
Yeah, we meet once a month, so if you get it to us before next month, that would make it great for us.
No, I'm very impatient. I don't like waiting.
Okay,
that's fair. If you need to have direct contact with someone, Ralph can get you my information and then we can have a conversation. Please excuse
Are you giving me
my gaming
permission to
partner.
bother Ralph?
Yes.
You already had permission.
Okay, all right. I will bother him a lot.
Perfect.
Sounds
I also got Cameron onto the West March Discord as a convenient way of accessing them.
Perfect as well. And you can always join our Facebook page as much as we all hate it.
I'm telling all of you now, you have my full permission to bother me anytime you want.
You got it.
You can be an orchestra of squeaky wheels. I'm very okay with that.
The best.
Love that for us.
Okay. So going back to this insurance thing, step one is Cameron's going to go to the city, see if they cover buffer insurance. If they do, done. Sounds like we don't need to do anything else. It also sounds like the city is not asking us to sign any sort of contract with them because all of this is going through Cameron, and Cameron is not asking us to sign any sort of contract with them.
We would just form an independent guild within the fair.
Yes.
Representing
it sounds like
Amber.
it's not a contract. It is, as officially, between businesses.
Yeah.
So as a result, if that all holds true, the BoD has nothing we need to do. If insurance comes back of we have to provide our own, then the BoD will have to get re-involved, and we'll have to look at insurance and potentially forming up some sort of contract and try and figure out what the money's coming from on that. But hopefully the answer
it would
is
probably go to Olping as well.
yes. There's a whole set of questions there because if we had to cover it, it would be let's say $500. We'd have to go to an Alding to get the $500 covered, and then I would also want us to look into, is there a way we could recoup that $500 from the money that the event earns? So that way we're not just expensing $500. But that is a whole separate thing.
Or can we put out a tip jar or some shit? I don't know.
Yeah, like how would we recover that cost? And that's why
Charge for
future
renting
discussion,
equipment.
hopefully none of that ever has to occur because the city covers buffer insurance. But that would be where that line of questioning would go if the city does not cover insurance. Are there? I think that
there are some other metrics outside of insurance that I wanted to go over.
Okay, let's talk about those.
So then there's like our logistical, how we're putting on the fair and what our brand and standards are. Because, like for example, SCA runs completely different than you guys.
Absolutely.
They do fantasy, you do fantasy. So so this is why Jen is here, because she's in charge of the performing arts department. She's putting together our workshops, our orientation, and the workshops are going to be covering a overall of the fair, our costuming standards, and our fair speech standards.
I see.
So if you're familiar with...
If I could jump in really quick, Cameron.
Sure.
Okay, great.
You have the talking stick.
Right now, their meeting is all about budget and etc. Basically, the only thing they need to know at this point is we're going to do a fair. We'd love for you guys to be here. And eventually, if you do the fair, we will discuss what it looks like, what you guys are bringing to the party, and I will be kind of sorting out space for you and how, and depending on what you guys want to do, if you're doing the full buffer thing, if you're going to do any of the role play that's involved in Cameron's picture of his fair, I will be in charge of organizing that. But right now, it's not time to discuss because first they have to decide if they're coming.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the answer is we could always be there in a less official presence. Like we could have, just 10 volunteers who show up less officially type thing. I know we've done that in the past. And
it could always just be a demo put on by Seven Sleeping Dragons if we end up being that small.
Right.
The other option I'm going to say here is if we've kind of covered everything on this, we could actually, I have one more item or two more items on the BoD agenda, and then I could close the BoD meeting and we could have a discussion non-BoD, non-board of our directors, and we could just have a more role-play discussion. So that way I could let some of our members who don't need to be involved here go back to their lives.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That sounds fair because I just don't want to hijack your meeting.
No, that sounds perfect. Okay.
I apologize for being impatient and front-loading everything.
It's all good, Cameron. We appreciate it. So,
love
with that, having figured out any contractual or financial obligations, and potential having to loop that back depending upon information that Cameron and Jen will provide us in the future. I believe we've covered this topic. Is there anything else that we need to cover on this, or can we move on?
I move to table this discussion pending future discussions.
Okay.
Seconded.
Second.
Third.
Fourth.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. Now, the final two objects of our discussion for the Board of Directors today are any topics we need to move or address on the March schedule, and then the big one, figuring out when we're meeting in March.
So there's one that I had asked to be brought to the agenda, and I thought I posted it on, but I don't see it now. That was Ilantis has asked the BoD to if we will be procuring the event insurance for Darkshore, or if she should look for someone else to do it or do it herself.
Hasn't the autocrat always been the one to procure the insurance? And then
Yes, but the board of directors has been taking a more active role in contract such things in the last couple years.
Is it sufficient that we just sign off on whatever she's about to approve of, or do we just have to do it for her?
I think the bigger question here is in the past couple of years, we've discussed trying to get like overall event insurance as a kingdom. And so I think probably Atlantis is trying to poke us to ask if we've gotten that yet and would be doing it as a kingdom, or if she actually just needs to do it as the autocrat. Am I reading that right? Thistledown?
It feels correct.
I can get some clarification on her. She just asked the BoD to procure event insurance for Darkshore, or would prefer she go to someone else.
So Rose, I think in the past we've asked you to look into overall, like just kind of annual event insurance.
I had put up some research on it on the group chat in the Discord. It didn't seem to really go anywhere. I posted it and had listed what I could see of the estimates, and people seemed to feel that the insurance that was being bought individually cost less. And so it kind of got dropped. I still think it would be a good idea to have either a specific company we do stuff with, or preferably have year-round everything insurance. But as it seemed like people had stated that they felt the other insurance was cheaper and what they wanted to go with, I didn't make further inquiries because that seemed to be the answer at the time.
So it sounds like we decided not to go with that, which does make sense because I believe the costs were looking quite exorbitant for us to just have standing event insurance that covered everybody. So
was this event insurance, or was this you go to park and you do things at park also?
We'd been looking at both.
Okay.
Yeah, the insurance company that I was looking at, from the people I talked to who said that they had it as well, they said that it covered both park days and
of all of us.
And for events, they had to like add another like $50 or whatever and get the site as a co-insured. But changing the cost of individual event insurances from being around $400 to, oh, you want to have an event? It's $50. Give the kingdom $50 and you have insurance for your event. The price was that I saw as quoted was a little bit higher than both Darkshore and Feast of Mars's price put together.
So here's the question: is that just for? It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. This is the price of the insurance, or would it potentially go down if we had changed our designation to 501c3?
Unclear.
Okay.
As we were not one, and
I got quotes by filling out the website information. If people had said, hey, this looks like a cool idea, we think this might be reasonable, my next step was going to be to contact the companies directly and ask all the questions, because the people that I had gotten the referral for those insurances from were people in other kingdoms. So there was some question about how it would change for our state as opposed to their state, because apparently insurance rules drastically vary between states.
I was gonna say, I know I also looked into a few of these where, you know, they had online forms and you could fill them out for the number of people and whether or not people under 14 were allowed to participate and blah, 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 blah. I do not remember a button to press to say, we are a 501c3, give us a discount, please.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up. My gut check is, Atlantis, go ahead and buy the insurance for Dark Shore. And then I think that we on the back end should start looking into getting insurance just for West March on the whole that would cover park days and events. Once we have C3 status and figure out if that helps us out.
Honestly, we should have several discussions, because I think we should probably, as part of this changeover to the 501c3, look into board of directors insurance as well.
You're not wrong, but I feel like all of that should be tied into, we're moving towards a C3 and away from a C7.
Yes. Okay, so it sounds like the answer to this question is Dark Shore should handle it for this year, and board of directors will address looking into it further for Feast of Gods and or next year.
Okay. After that, regarding agenda, I know Milan added some agenda things this morning that I have not seen addressed yet.
And he's gone.
Okay. Is that in the Discord? Sorry.
It is in the Facebook channel.
Okay, let me see if I can pull that up here. 2 quick things to add. West March budget should hit in Alding in February or March. We will need to see if someone is willing to make an event waiver in Smart Waiver, or does Brian have authority to just make one? I believe Brian just has the authority to make one.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay. I will just throw that on here and just say, Brian, go do the thing.
Huzzah. 10 out of 10.
Cool. And then DEI updated statement for West March conversion. I do not understand this acronym.
DEI is diversion, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, okay.
Or Dark Shore event
It's saying that we are both friendly to people of all backgrounds, basically.
We're not bigots. The end.
But also that not only can they join, but like they can be leadership and whatnot as well.
And our all-white board of directors decided that.
Actually, you are wrong.
Oh, thank God.
Bear is Polynesian, and Athena is a woman of color. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
indeed. I'm just very pale for my race. Can't help it.
And my Italian ass was talking about fucking bubbly lemonade with my hand like this yesterday, and I didn't even know what was happening. So I don't know what that's worth. But I'm trans as hell, so there we go. Boom, got him.
Additionally, it's been in AMCAR's mission statement that we are non-discriminatory since the beginning of AMCAR. So, well, maybe not the beginning, but a long
Let's not talk about the
time.
80s. Let's not talk about the 80s.
Since as long as any of us care to remember.
So what do we need to, is there some requirement for some statement we have to have, or is this, what are we talking about here?
I don't know.
I know.
This is a question for Milan.
So I know that he had the idea of like doing a joint class with SCA in San Diego, and SCA basically told us to go fuck ourselves because we're foam sports and we don't matter. And then he had asked me specifically, hey, do you want to sign your name to an inclusionary statement? And I said, absolutely. But that was towards the beginning of the reign, so I have no idea what he's on about now. But there's probably some sense in there somewhere.
Okay,
Probably.
so
Great. I move to table this item until Milan is at a meeting.
I
Yep.
agree.
Agreed.
Second.
Sorry, Milan. When
Yeah.
you watch this
Love you,
recording.
buddy.
Like he's gonna watch this recording. I mean, if he
He's
does,
gonna-
he better do it at least double speed.
Okay, are there any other walk-on issues or items to discuss?
I love walk-ups.
I don't
Okay.
think that
Lifeblood of
the
recruitment.
event support is technically like a BoD item, so that'll probably wait for speaking more generally than just the fantasy fair.
Perfect.
Cool, so
Okay,
finish and
so
decide when we meet next.
let's decide when we meet next. Let's look at a calendar
I
here.
saw suggestions for several Fridays, and I know that we'd previously discussed that Fridays works the best for most of us.
March 8th.
Yep,
So
that
there you
is
go.
awesome.
There's the poll. Make a choice.
Oh, hey, cool.
You can make multiple choices.
I immediately
Sweet.
closed it because it popped up in front of me, and I hate the
All
pop-ups.
right, I chose them all.
If I'm a walk-up, do I get a vote?
No.
No.
Didn't think so.
Where is this poll? Where did it just go? I closed it. and it
Don't
wouldn't
listen to them. I voted too.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Son of a
So,
bitch.
just
Do
to
it,
check,
Do it.
NorCal Midrain is on the 10th, the 9th.
NorCal
When is
Midrange
it?
is on the 10th.
So
Um,
the 8th is probably not the best concept.
If it's any later than the 8th, I will be out of the country.
So how about the 22nd or 29th?
I will be out of the country.
well,
Oh, later
does,
than the 8th.
does Zoom not work out of the country? Is that a new feature?
No. Our PM doesn't work out of the country.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
Also, the poll disappeared for me as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I went to under more, and then you can click on polls, and I can at least see the poll, but I don't know if I get to vote in the poll now.
I opened the chat and it
Oh.
was there. So I don't
Should
know,
have told me. I
man.
could have voted for you.
I
That's
like
what
how
you
we
get
all
for
thought this was a
closing it.
cool idea, then immediately went sideways.
Start it over again.
Sounds
I
like an
tried,
Amgard
I
BOD
tried.
meeting.
But roughly, these are the dates we're looking at, which is March 1st, which...
All right, I heard a couple for the 22nd, and I also like the 22nd.
But
Okay.
Thistledown will not be here.
Oh, look, I can relaunch it.
Well,
There you go,
it's-
guys. Make your choices.
It's
No,
I did
me
it.
and Andy are going to a wedding on the 17th. So,
Which
the
is also
15th
SoCal
is
Midrain.
Damn.
I see several votes for the 22nd. I will also cast my vote on the 22nd.
You're not gonna be at
Alright.
mid-rain?
Nope, sadly.
That could you just tell your sister to like
Postpone?
goodbye and I'll catch the next wedding or something? Like
I mean,
Yeah,
I would love
wish.
for my sister-in-law to get married a different time, but
Yeah,
Okay.
and especially because she gave us all of like a month and a half's notice.
yeah, no, I know
All
that
right,
part.
I have 6 answers. Does anybody else going to throw their answer in?
I physically can't. None of these buttons do anything.
yay.
Yeah, I think it's because you're a co-host with me, so you can't. Here,
Fix this
I'll
now.
remove your co-host position so you can
Oh,
vote.
perfect.
There you go.
There you go. Let's go 22, 29, 1, 8. I can do all those. Boom. Now the poll disappeared. Whatever.
Cool.
See.
I can also do multiple of those, and I
Honestly,
can't respond.
I think
will
the
say
first
that I
might be
would
the best
prefer-
option.
I'm not opposed to the first.
And I'm saying
Who
that
voted
because
against the
Thistledown will
first?
be here.
I can do the first. It wasn't my preference, so I hadn't initially voted on it, but that's
Mm.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you
First,
started
don't
on
bother me
7
none.
sleeping after that.
I call for a vote about
Hell
holding it on the
yeah.
first. Anybody
Seconded.
opposed?
Actually, I might be tired of 7 sleeping.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's also the first day of Women's Day. Women's Month that day. Okay, March
So
1.
what I'm hearing is all the men need to be quiet during that.
That doesn't sound like a
God
BOD
damn,
issue.
we can't have a BOD meeting.
No. You have
Athena
to be
can talk.
present, but only Athena can talk.
I can talk for a whole hour.
I love that for you, Bestie.
It just may not be about BOD.
I love that
Yeah.
for you, Bestie. I
Okay.
think we would all appreciate that.
Looking at the, I'm glad for the first, because if it was the 26th, like, okay, 6 p.m. here is 3 a.m. in Berlin. Huh.
All that blue.
All right,
Oh,
motion to
let's do
close
it
the
on the
meeting.
26th.
Okay. So it sounds like our date is March 1st, 2024 is the next meeting date at 6 p.m. I will add Pacific Coast time for those of us who are having fun.
Okay.
Okay. I know
Motion
Milan's out of the...
adjourned.
So
Seconded.
Milan's gone until the 28th or something like that, right? I just realized we never actually got their. They're out for 2 weeks, I think. Well, if they have a problem, they can complain, and then we'll talk about it then. Okay.
You'll add it as an item on the BoD meeting.
Yeah, we'll kick that to the we'll table it for next month. Okay.
Also, Scoot, you're ruining all my plans, or rather, your sister-in-law is.
Lo siento.
Okay.
I mean, to be
with
fair,
this-
she
Alright, I
turned a
motioned
lot of
before,
hours.
and I heard a
too.
second.
With this, can we close the meeting?
The king approves. Huzzah!
The king doesn't get to vote, but okay, thank you.
Cool. I'm stopping the recording.